like that theme. Water is life. Water is food. I mean, like without water, we cannot live, right?
We cannot live, we cannot grow our food as well, and it's very important for the agricultural and food industry. But as we saw on the visual, that not everyone has the same access to water. Some of them are just unlucky, and that's why we have to be hand in hand to protect our planet, to give like better access to everyone, because water is actually free, but some of us just
Don't have
that
to
the
water.
access. Yeah.
Well, a lot of us also, especially living in city, we like to take granted our water. I mean,
Yes.
it icks me so much when we have a bottle of water and people don't finish the entire water, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just those little simple things. We're very blessed that we have that easy access to clean water every day, but sometimes we just forget the importance of it. So we really need to take care of ourselves, and we really need to pay more attention to our surroundings. And of course, like, you know, like finish our water, you know, be grateful of the clean water resources that we have here in the city.
And this year's World Food Day, with the theme of water is life, water is food, and leave no one behind, that is something that we would like to give like the awareness to everyone in the world, because it is not a national day that only celebrated here in Indonesia, but it is World Food Day, and it is initiated by the United Nations. So it's such a reminder, right, Luisa? As you said, we who live in the city who has better access to water, but sometimes we just forget it, and we take it for granted. It's actually a privilege for us.
And it's also like a big homework for the government in a way, so that they can improve our green technology, how to make our water resources to keep coming, so that we always have this access to clean water. And of course, turn all the dirty water into clean water. That is something that we need to work on, because it's the future. We still need to have, we always need to have clean water access to everywhere around the world. And it's a big, big homework for the government.
Yeah, and especially here in Indonesia as well, because we know that Indonesia is so big. We are an agricultural country as well, with like biggest population, but some of us also doesn't have a clean water access in some parts of Indonesia.
That's right. And the Global World Food Day is actually annually commemorated on October 16. And we will get to know more about the event as well as its essence. We're still trying to get connected to our interviewee this morning, Professor Purwiyatno Hariyadi. But for now, as we are trying to get this dialogue, let's just try to say hello and get connected with Professor Purwiyatno Hariyadi. Good morning, Professor.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Professor. Thank you for joining us here at Starting Point. Today we are celebrating the Global World Food Day. And as we mentioned before, we've been discussing about how important it is for food, as well as, of course, water. Professor Purwiyatno Hariyadi is a professor and a senior scientist at SEAFAST Center, the Bogor University of Agriculture. Well, first and foremost, Professor, can you please elaborate more for us? What is the significance of celebrating World Food Day, and how can such celebration address the global food-related issues?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. Yes, this is a very important celebration in a way, especially to raise awareness among all of the food stakeholder in the food sector about the importance of food, and this year specifically about the importance of water. Okay, because as you mentioned before, water is essential for life, and actually our law, food law, recognizing that water is one of the type of food. So if you look at the definition of food from the food law, food number 18, 12, mentioning that food is any resources coming from agriculture or fishery and so on, including water. So in fact, again, water itself is a food. And how to raise awareness about that, and also to create or to facilitate the development of action to improve the water security, food security, and nutrition is very important. And that's one of the objectives why the UN established the World Food Day. Okay. As you mentioned before, this time of year, the theme is very clear about water. That reflects the importance of water as the foundation of our life and also our food. So, although the significant, I think it's very significant for Indonesia, because Indonesia currently faces many problems associated with food security, and many of those problems is also linked with the water scarcity. As we know, currently right now, we have a problem in food production because of the scarcity of the water resources. Okay, so that's very relevant for us to, again, for everybody to have a good awareness about that and take action how to improve, to save water, to save our food, not wasting food, not wasting water, to ensure the food and also water security and nutrition for Indonesia. That's probably the main thing that we as a nation need to do with respect to food and water at this time. Thank you.
And yes, you just mentioned like two very important keywords there, Professor, the food and water security and how to do it, because we know that Indonesia is also very, very big. It's a World Food Day. It's something that people hand in hand in the world to do such thing to save water for the future of the food security, and how us as Indonesians especially can do that.
That's a very good question, and that's also very good for to be asked by everybody, actually, every individual, because ultimately the food and water security is everyone's business. It's a shared responsibility, and not only government but also community and also industry and also farmer, fishermen, and so on. So this is a very important one. And again, first thing first, I think what we do is have a good realization and awareness about the importance of that scarce resources, water. Many times we did not realize that water is valuable until we have a dry season. Okay, so at the rainy season, for example, I think it's very wise for us to save the water by, for example, trying to have storage, and also try not to, what we call it, in terms of the surface of the soil that we have, we need to maintain that they have a good water holding capacity, so that they will be able to hold water in the soil, not easy to dry out and things like that. So again, everybody of us has a shared responsibility, and especially the important thing also is try to appreciate more in terms of water, and also in terms of food, and also the producer of food, which is a farmer, which is a fisherman, and so on. So I think that's a very important question need to be asked by all of us regarding the importance of water and importance of food. Another thing I would like to mention about waste. Okay, if we currently we are considered to be food waster, a lot of waste generated by our activity. And the sad thing also is that ultimately those waste, those trash, for example, will end up in water. And that will create a further problem in terms of water. So not only potentially, not only the water will be scarce, the scarcity of water, but also the available water will decrease in terms of the quality. So that's also need to be considered for us. That's why when at the beginning I mentioned about save our water, we also need to be aware that many of our daily activity may directly, in fact, influence or have a directly impact on the quality of the water, not only the quantity, but also the quality.
So basically, we need to appreciate the natural resources that we have and also remember to take care of our planet by not throwing trash around and also cleaning up and also, of course, going green. Now, Professor, in your opinion, what do you think are the key challenges in ensuring food security worldwide? And how can this World Food Day shed a light on such challenges?
Yes, thank you. I think this is very important as well. The main challenge related to the food and water security is that currently we found that right now that somehow there is some realization that the world has a problem to meet the food need for the growing population. So this is especially also with the current situation that we have right now, with the war and everything. There are several main challenges, in my opinion. Number one is challenge related to the climate change and including the natural disaster. So this is especially very important for Indonesia because Indonesia is vulnerable to the impact of climate change and also natural disaster that frequently occurring in Indonesia. So that's another challenge, especially due to the temperature rising and also sea level rising that will clinically have a great impact in the ability of global and also Indonesia to produce enough water for the growing population. That's number one concern. The second one is the scarcity of the resources, including land and water. As I mentioned, not only land and water are shrinking in terms of the quantity, but many times we also often witness the decreasing of the quality of land and also the quality of water. Okay, so this is need to be addressed as well, because again, especially when we consider water is food directly, then the quality of water, the safety of water will directly have impact on the quality and also safety of the food that we consume. Especially more especially when we are talking about the food coming from water, from the sea, for example, then okay, how we maintain the quality of the seawater is also directly will have an impact on the quality of the seafood. So this is need to be addressed as well. So the limited resources of land and water. And the second one is how we can improve the productivity and efficiency in terms of the food production. This is very important because, as you know, before I mentioned about the shrinking resources, land and water, but the population is growing. So how we can produce more with less, basically. So that's the technology that we need to develop and we need to apply in a way that we can produce more with less resources. So that's probably the main challenge that I can identify with respect to the World Food Day this year.
Yes, and you also mentioned, Professor, that if natural disaster or even like a dry season that we are experiencing at this time is, it's like a very long dry season. But how about the COVID-19 pandemic as well? How it has affected the food security, the agricultural, and how we can like how it affected and made in addressing food related issues. Will it be something that we need to be more aware of because it happened and we need to fix it?
Yes, thank you very much. You remind me a very important one about COVID-19, and one of the what do you call that? One of the positive, I may say, positive impact related to the COVID-19 with respect to food, in my opinion, is that the realization of all of us here about the importance of local food. Okay, because actually during the COVID, we have a problem related with distribution of food, the logistic of it. So with that, people realize how important it is to establish a local food system that are more robust, that will not be disturbed by limitation of movement in the of the people movement, transportation, and so on. So how to develop the sustainable food diversification based on the local resources, in my opinion, is very important lesson learned that we need to take from the COVID-19 pandemic. We now, if, from my observation, right now there is a initiative coming from local government and also coming from entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs, to develop the local food. The food that are basically have a long history of usage and also long history of development in a specific area that will have a contribution to better and sustainable food diversification based on the local resources. I think that's an important initiative that need to be promoted, and hopefully the government also provide support and also provide the framework for the further development for that kind of initiative in the future.
Professor, you mentioned about sustainable agriculture just then. Could you explain more about the role of sustainable agriculture in achieving the goals set on the World Food Day, as well as how will this impact the future of our world food supply?
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, I mentioned about the sustainable food diversification based on local resources. I think that's more specific. Obviously, that's also part of the main part of the sustainable agriculture. But for Indonesian context, I believe that as you might know, or all of us aware of that, hopefully that we have a lot of resources in terms of the food that are currently underutilized or even neglected sometimes. So some kind of food that I usually see when I saw it during my childhood. Now it's very difficult to find. So why? Because they are neglected by our system. So hopefully, with that kind of awareness, as I mentioned before, there is a lot of initiative to establish or develop of local food. Hopefully, that kind of food that are currently underutilized will be utilized more, because they have a potential to improve the food security and nutrition in Indonesia. Not only that, those kind of food will improve the availability, but also more importantly, they will enhance the dietary diversity, and at the end of the day will improve the nutrition quality of the diet of the people, because they have more in of the variety of the diet, and with that kind of diet, the quality of nutrition intake will be even better. So promoting the sustainable food diversification, especially utilizing the neglected or even the underutilized food resources that we have, can help improve the dietary diversity and quality of the community, and will help the food security condition of Indonesia. I can mention one which is very specific. For example, the utilization of sagu. We have a big resources, large resources regarding sagu right now, but the utilization of sagu for our food is very limited. So that's one of the example what I meant by underutilized or sometimes even neglected. Another example, for example, like sukun breadfruit and also jackfruit, for example, as a food sources is need to be, in my opinion, need to be promoted and contributing to the betterment of the food security of Indonesia.
Okay, that's it, I think. And thank you very much, Professor Purwiyatno Hariyadi, a professor and a senior scientist at SEAFAST Center, for sharing a very fruitful and fruitful conversation that we had this morning. We really hope that what you just shared can also raise more awareness on not how important food is, how water is, but also the food chain, the agricultural and food security that it is needed for our future.
Thank you so much, Professor, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.